Casimiro Granado, born the second of 7 children, grew up in the central agricultural district of Vancouver. Life in those early years was very simple for Donald. His father, Gregorio Granado, was a self-sufficient individual, providing for his family and himself by his skill with his hands.
No, he made our furniture. He made everything that we had. Chairs, I don't know for the bed because it was iron bed. That was for the main room. But for our room, he would make beds.
An avid reader, Donald's first job was in the teaching profession, working at the Vancouver RC and then at the Mamoral RC schools. As his ambitions increased, he left Vancouver for Port of Spain, starting off as a tailor and then later trying his hands at a variety of clerical jobs. Around this time, he became involved in the trade union movement, eventually holding the post of General Secretary of the Union of Commercial and Industrial Workers and Secretary of the Federation of Trade Unions. Being involved in debating clubs and other social activities, Donald Granado became acquainted with a group of peers who would soon become the founders of the PNM.
He was not a bacchanal man as you have in politics today. He never did. He used to argue. In those days we had a young parliament. The opposition had some bright people in it, very decent people like Tajbul Hussain, Peter Fakwa, we had Ken Lala, we had Hanuman Singh, younger educated fellows. And when they criticized in parliament, they were statesman-like. I could hardly remember during the years we spent in the early days when Granado was there. Later on, when the other people came in, like the ULF and so on, we used to have some real war. But in the early days, we didn't have that.
Though a very public figure, Donald also remained a family man. By the age of 44, Donald had been married twice. His first to Grace King, with whom he had a daughter, Gemma, didn't last, and he subsequently married Anne-Marie Lombard, with whom he had Dennis and Shamian.
He loved his children very, very much. If he traveled, he would take them with him, and they had a very enjoyable time. He took them around and they all were happy together.
As the push to independence continued, Donald Granado was there to witness the historic transition from colonial rule with the formation of the succession of Trinidad and Tobago's leadership by the People's National Movement.
We have looked forward with considerable pleasure to our entry into the Commonwealth family. Now that this goal has been achieved, I ask you to convey to Her Majesty an expression of our unfailing loyalty and devotion to her throne and person.
With a history in the trade union movement, Donald was passionate about the welfare of citizens and the achievement of social mobility through education, the promotion of sport and the unity of credit unionism.
Long before we launched the PNM party, Donald Granado was very prominent in the trade union movement. And as far as I am concerned, he lived in the Barataria constituency, right on 7th Street off 6th Avenue. And we became friends from then because he supported me in my elections. And then when the party was being formed, Donald Granado with John Donaldson, Andrew Carr, Eustace Pigott, a lot of people, we got together with Dr. Williams. And Donald was in the early days. And when we launched the first party in Woodbrook from the Friendly Society Hall, Donald Granado was elected as the first General Secretary of the People's National Movement.
When elected to the Legislative Council, he served the Williams administration as Minister of Labor, Cooperatives and Social Services from 1956 to 1961, and as a Member of Parliament for Laventille, Minister of Health and Housing, and Deputy Leader of the House of Representatives from 1961 to 1963.
In the government, in Parliament, I will say this, he was a very meticulous man. And although, like myself, he was not a university graduate, when Donald spoke, he spoke very precisely in what he had to say. He never slandered anybody. and he was always on the point and giving you relevant information. Sometime in 1956, well, after 1956, the Prime Minister wanted to send a mission to India and to Ceylon and to Pakistan and to those countries in the Middle East, including he also wanted us to go to Canada and to the UK, because at the time we were fighting the American government with respect to the release of Shagaramas. And he wanted us to go to lay the foundation for his campaign when he would start this thing. When we went to India, we were received by Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru and all the big men in the government. Whenever we went anywhere, I was the leader of the delegation because I was the senior man. But whenever we went anywhere, they used to rush to garland him first because he looked more like a foreigner. I looked like an Indian from India.
On leaving the Parliament, Donald Granado entered the diplomatic service with postings to Venezuela, Argentina, Brazil, Canada, and finally as High Commissioner to Great Britain in 1968. After a full life in public service, Donald Granado continued serving his community both at Valsayn and later in Trinidad, organizing neighborhood groups as well as becoming heavily involved in youth sports.
He was never a man of any kind of underhanded thing. He was very straightforward. Nothing under the table. Just face him straight and you would get a straight answer to what he can do for you or what he cannot do. That was always his way from growing up until he died.
By his vision, foresight, and more so being the selfless person that he was, Donald Granado's noteworthy contribution to the fight for true independence from colonial rule was nothing short of heroism. His involvement in so many fields, trade unionism, education, parliament, politics, the diplomatic corps, and sport, truly made him an outstanding statesman and patriot.